Dear learners, welcome to the video tutorial on Computer Fundamentals and HTML Part 1. In this tutorial, we will discuss about computer languages, language translators, and features of good language. Let us begin about what is a computer. A computer is a machine that can be instructed to carry out sequences of arithmetic or logical operations automatically via computer programming. Then what is a programming language? A programming language is a set of rules that provides a way of telling a computer what operations to perform. A programming language is a set of rules for communicating an algorithm. It provides a linguistic framework for describing computations. Here, the levels of programming languages are high-level program, low-level program, and executable machine code. High-level programs are human-friendly language like English. Low-level program uses mnemonics, that is, the commands for various operations like load, multiplication, mul, division, div, etc. Executable machine code or binary language, which is the coding uses the binary digits 0 and 1. And what are the types of programming languages? The various types are first generation language, second generation, third generation, fourth generation, and fifth generation. In first generation languages, we call machine language, which contains operation code and operands. Operation code such as addition or subtraction, operands that identify the data to be processed. Machine language is machine dependent as it is the only language the computer can understand. Very efficient coding but very difficult to write. Second generation languages, also called assembly languages, in which we use symbolic operation codes instead of binary operation codes. Assembly language programs needed to be assembled or translated for execution by the computer. Each assembly language instruction is translated into one machine language instruction. Very efficient coding and easier to write. Third generation languages, in closer to English but included simple mathematical notations. Programs written in source code which must be translated into machine language for execution. This object code or target code is written in binary language. The translation of source code to object code is accomplished by a machine language system program called a compiler. So, in third generation languages, we translate the source code into object code by using compilers. Also, the third generation languages interpreted to an object code. So, an alternative to compilation is interpretation, which is accomplished by the system program called an interpreter. Examples of programming languages coming under third generation are Fortran, COBOL, C and C++, Visual Basic. Fourth generation languages, which is the high-level language that requires fewer instructions to accomplish a task than a third-generation language. Examples are database manipulation languages, query languages, report generators, forms designers, application generators. The fifth-generation languages, which are further classified into declarative languages, functional languages, or logic languages. Functional languages examples are Lisp, Scheme, SML, which are also called applicative. Here, everything is mentioned as a function. In logic programming, example is a prolog programming, which are based on mathematical logic, which contains rules or constraints. The principal programming paradigms are imperative programming, object-oriented programming, logic or declarative programming, functional or applicative programming. The programming languages are classified into traditional programming languages and object-oriented programming languages. In the traditional way of programming, the coding are done in a way of sequence of instructions. The programming contains sequence of instructions without any grouping. First, second, and some third generation languages are in type of these categories are coming under this category. Object-oriented languages. Objects are created rather than sequence of instructions. Some third generation and fourth and fifth generation languages are of this type. The example for traditional programming language is Fortran, that is Formula Translation, which is developed at IBM in the mid-1950s, designed for scientific and mathematical applications by scientists and engineers. The next is COBOL, which is a common business-oriented language developed in 1959, designed to be common to many different computers, typically used for business applications. The next one is BASIC, Beginner's All-Purpose Symbolic Instruction Code, which is developed at Dartmouth College in mid-1960s, which is developed as a simple language for students to write programs with which they could interact through terminals. The next is C programming, which is developed by Bell Laboratories in the early 1970s, provides control and efficiency of assembly language while having third generation language features, which is often used for system programming. The Unix is an operating system which is written in C. The next programming paradigm or the next type of programming is object-oriented programming. The examples are Simula, Smalltalk. Simula, first object-oriented language which is developed by Old Joan Dahl in the 1960s. Smalltalk, which is the first purely object-oriented language developed by Xerox in mid-1970s, still in use on some computers. The next is object-oriented programming. The next one is C++. It is the C language which is the C language with additional features, widely used for developing system and application software. Graphical user interface can be developed easily with visual programming tools. So the Visual C++ helps the graphical interfaces. Next is Java programming, which is an object-oriented language similar to C++ that eliminates lots of complexities coming under C++ programming, which allows a web page developer to create programs for applications called applets that can be used through a browser. The objective of Java developers is that it be machine, platform, and operating system independent. The other special programming languages are scripting languages, command languages, and text processing languages. The examples of scripting languages are JavaScript and VBScript, PHP, ASP, Perl, and Python. The examples for command languages are shell scripting languages like sh, csh, and bash. Text processing languages. Examples are LaTeX, PostScript. Next is HTML, which is the hypertext markup language for web page designing, which is used in Internet and the World Wide Web. Web page developer puts brief codes called tags in the page to indicate how the page should be formatted. And XML, which is an extensible markup language, which is a language for defining other languages. So we discussed about programming languages. So every programming languages written in high level or intermediate programming languages like assembly coding should be translated into low level programming language or binary language in order to get it executed. So language translators, which are the system programs to translate the high level or intermediate programming codes to binary codes. A translator is a programming language processor that converts a computer program from one language to another. It takes a program written in source code and converts it into machine code. It discovers and identifies the error during translation. The examples of such system programs are compiler, interpreter, and assembler. Compilers. The language processor that reads the complete source program written in high-level language as a whole in one go and translates it into an equivalent program in machine language is called as a compiler. The programs which use compilation are C, C++, C Sharp, and Java. In a compiler, the source code is translated to object code successfully if it is free of errors. The compiler specifies the errors at the end of compilation with line numbers when there are any errors in the source code. The errors must be removed before the compiler can successfully recompile the source code again. The next system program or language translator is interpreter. The source programs also interpreted to low-level object code by using an interpreter. The translation of single statement of source program into machine code is done by language processor and executes it immediately before moving on to the next line is called an interpreter. So interpreter translates a source program to object program as line by line and it executes immediately after reading it. If there is an error in the statement, the interpreter terminates its translating process at that statement and displays an error message. The interpreter moves on to the next line for execution only after removal of the error. An interpreter directly executes instructions written in a programming or scripting language without previously converting them to an object code or machine code. So the programming languages which are interpreted using interpreter are Perl, Python, and MATLAB. The next language processor is assembler. The assembler is used to translate the program written in assembly language into machine code. The source program is an input of assembler that contains assembly language instructions. The output generated by assembler is the object code or machine code understandable by the computer. Now, we move on to the features of a language. Formerly, computers were more expensive than programs. So, every programming language or the codes written using a high-level language should possess some of the properties like ease of designing, debugging, maintenance, reusability. So the criteria in a good language design are writability, readability, reliability, maintainability, uniformity, extensibility, standardability, and implementability. Writability, the quality of a language that enables a programmer to use it to express a computation clearly, correctly, concisely, and quickly. Readability, the quality of a language that enables a programmer to understand and comprehend the nature of a computation easily and accurately. Reliability, the quality of a language that assures a program will not behave in unexpected or disastrous ways during execution. Maintainability, the quality of a language that eases errors can be found and corrected and new features added. Uniformity is the quality of a language that similar features should look similar and behave similar. Extensibility means the quality of a language that provides some general mechanism for the user to add new constructs to a language. Standardability, the quality of a language that allows programs written to be transported from one computer to another without significant change in language structure. Implementability, the quality of a language that provides a translator or interpreter can be written. This can address to complexity of the language definition. These are the good features of a programming language. Thanks for watching.